Hey guys, Xaryu here, and today I am doing the much awaited video of a rogue PvP guide in Legion. I told you guys if I get Gladiator on my rogue, I'll do a rogue guide, because I felt like if I didn't get Gladiator, why am I making a guide in the first place? But I want to, walk you through everything that kind of helped me get to rank 0 to Gladiator within a few weeks of played time, and I want to talk about talents and honor talents. I want to talk about your goals in the arena. I want to talk about different rotations, and I know this is a big one for a lot of you because one of the most frequently asked questions is, what is my rotation as a rogue? So I'm going to talk about some rotations, but just know it changes a lot, so there's no just like go-to rotation. And then I'm going to talk about some rogue macros that I use. So let's jump into it. First of all, let's look at talents and honor talents. Let's start with talents first. This is my basic setup. Okay, so I'm going to change it based on a couple of things, but like 90% of the time it's going to look like this. First row here, Gloomblade versus Weapon Master versus Master of Subtlety. Gloomblade I use in almost every game. It's just more damage, like more consistent damage. Master of Subtlety is going to give you some more burst. When I'm playing double rogue 2v2, almost every game I go Master of Subtlety. When I'm playing 3v3, and that consistent pressure actually matters, and the damage between the go actually adds up and actually gets someone nice and low for the go, then I go Gloomblade. So Gloomblade for 3s, Master of Subtlety for double rogue 2s. You can also go Master of Subtlety in 3v3 if you're fighting like only cloth wearers and there's no mail or plate. I even tend to like Gloomblade versus leather wearers as well, though. Gloomblade is just so much more consistent damage. So almost all the time in 3v3. Night Stalker, Subterfuge, Shadow Focus, easy one here. Always play Subterfuge. It allows you to open up out of stealth with that cheap shot, and then to Nightblade, and then to Shadow Strike. It's very, very nice to be able to use your stealth abilities outside of stealth for a couple seconds, and it makes your Shadow Dances a little bit longer, which means it synergizes well with Dark Shadow down here. It synergizes well with just having two charges of that Shadow Dance. Subterfuge, by far the best talent in this rail. Vigor versus Deeper Stratagem versus Anticipation. I never take Anticipation. Vigor all the time in 3v3. For me personally, because I really like the extra energy to, cheap shot one guy, cheap shot another guy, cheap shot a third guy. That takes a lot of energy. If you're not Vigor, it's going to be very difficult to do that for that cross CC, for the control, for the burst of Subtlety Rogue. Sometimes in 2v2, I do take Deeper Stratagem because the way I do 2v2 as double rogue is we just all in. That little 5% increased damage does help a lot. The 6 combo points for longer kidneys on orcs, or the 6 combo points for a bigger Eviscerate does definitely help. So in 2v2 double rogue, I'll play something like Master Subtlety, Deeper Stratagem. 3v3, I'll play Gloomblade and Vigor. Okay, next row here, Soothing Darkness, Elusiveness, and Cheat Death. Soothing Darkness is what I take in 2s without a healer. So my 2 spec will look like this. Without a healer, right? If I was playing 2s with a healer, I would definitely have a spec that looked like this. Elusiveness all the time in 3s. So Soothing Darkness is just for like dueling, maybe world PvP, maybe anytime you don't have a healer with you to sustain you, Soothing Darkness is amazing. Anytime you have a healer in your like actual 3v3 arena or 2v2 with a healer, Elusiveness. Next row here, Prey on the Weak. I just don't even want to talk about the other two. 10% increased damage from all sources in your stuns is incredible. Always take Prey on the Weak. Now, Dark Shadow is a new talent from 7.2, I think. While Shadow Dance is active, all damage you deal is increased by 30%. So much increased damage. Keep this in mind when you're bursting. Pop that dance. Use all of your damage abilities. So much damage increase here from Dark Shadow. Always take Dark Shadow. And then Mark for Death. I've seen some people play Death from Above. Personally, I've never ran Death from Above. I love Mark for Death to get 5 combo points. Whether it's a Mark for Death kidney on the healer, whether it's, the healer trinkets you're blind, you have no combo points, you want to Mark for Death kidney instantly, whether it's Mark for Death into Eviscerate to finish someone off during one of your rotations. There's so many applications for this, that just on-demand applications for Mark for Death. I really think it makes rogue gameplay much smoother, whereas Death from Above, I don't know. I don't know of any application that I personally would like to use Death from Above. So those are my talents, guys. This is what I run in 3v3 with a healer. This is what I'd run in 2v2 playing double rogue, or any 2v2 like double DPS. I would maybe run something like this. So kind of walk you through the talents. Let's look at honor talents now. Honor talents. I always play Trinket because I'm a Blood Elf, and if I don't play Trinket as a Blood Elf, and I play like Blood Elf Relentless, I'm just going to die in Suns 100-0. So I always play Trinket. Now, if you're a human, I would recommend also to always play Trinket, or almost always play Trinket. If you're an Orc, I think there's some times you can go Relentless if you're not scared of just dying 100-0. But as Orc Relentless, if you have good feint uptime, keep that damage reduction on you, I think you'll be okay playing Orc Relentless as long as you don't get yourself into any like too sticky of a situation. But yeah, always play Trinket if you're a human or a Blood Elf or not an Orc. Never play Adaptation early as a Rogue. Reinforced Armor. So this is one that I'm going to admit, guys, that I haven't tested too much myself versus Reinforced Armor versus Sparring. Pretty much all my games to Gladiator and all my games to 25, 2600, and 2v2, I played Reinforced Armor. I know that some people have done some testing with Sparring versus double melee, like a Windwalker DK or like a Warrior Demon Hunter or something like that. And I've tested a little bit, but I haven't seen like too much of a difference. And I'm scared of getting one shot with Thieves' Bargain, making my health pool a little bit lower anyway. So I stick with Reinforced Armor personally, but you can definitely, if any of you mathematicians out there think that Sparring's a little bit better, which I think it might be in some matchups where there's no casters at all, go for it. But personally, I stick with Reinforced Armor. Now here is our talent row that was interesting for me. When I first started Rogue, I played Shiv almost every single game. And as I kind of got more used to Rogue, or more, comfortable with my Rogue, I was like, wait, this sprint movement suppression is super, super good against stuff like Hunters or Frost Mages or anything that keeps you rooted, like Shamans. It's so, so, so nice to be able to pop that sprint as a way to guarantee to get out of those movement suppressing abilities, and then guarantee to get that kidney shot on the healer, guarantee to get the cheap shots. So I'm running with maneuverability like 99% of the time. I'm only going with Shiv if it's like a team that doesn't have much movement suppressing abilities or none at all, and I think I want to Shiv to keep someone slowed and play really annoying. I played it against like a Fire Mage and a Warrior one time, and I just trained the Warrior the whole game to keep the Warrior stuck in place with the Shiv. I would say like 99% of my games I play maneuverability. Once again, that's something that might be more specific to me. So if you guys want to mess around with Shiv as well, versus teams where you don't think you need that sprint ability, thumbs up, go for it. But all my games I played with maneuverability. Smoke Bomb, Thieves Gambit, Honor Among Thieves. Thieves Gambit got nerfed, right? The Vanish isn't as good, so I always play with Smoke Bomb. Helps me get those win conditions, helps me get those kills. If I can't get CC on the healer, I can just kidney bomb the DPS, and then boom, he goes down in that Smoke Bomb. Cold Blood. So yeah, I always play with Smoke Bomb. Cold Blood, always play with it. 10% of your total health. So a cool thing about Cold Blood, guys, is that it goes through like a shield wall or something. So if a warrior or any class pops a shield wall or any type of damage reduction defensive, it's still gonna be 10% of their total health, right? So you can hold on to your Cold Blood until like a Demon Hunter pops wall and he gets low. He pops his blur, boom, Cold Blood through it. It's still gonna be 10% damage whether it's through a wall or whether it's not through a wall, right? So Cold Blood's super, super awesome ability, so much burst. Now Thieves' Bargain just got nerfed a couple days ago when patch 7.3 came out. I'm still running with Thieves' Bargain. 15% less health, but you get more health from Reinforced Armor, you get 10% damage, and you have a quicker Vanish cooldown just for more defensive play, for more peels, or for another go, right? If you need the Vanish to get a stun on the healer, then you can step back to the DPS and then stun them. I think Thieves' Bargain is still the way to go in most games. I have done some testing with Phantom Assassin. It is more damage, but you're not going to have the vanishes often, but you're going to have more health. So I think Phantom Assassin might have some play now, and I haven't really tested it out, so it's hard for me to tell you where or when to go Phantom Assassin, because I think we're still kind of fleshing out the meta. But if you're having trouble living, you're dying quite a bit, you want that extra health, you're dying in the stuns, and you want to burst a little bit harder, I think Phantom Assassin's the way to go. But if you want a little bit more consistency, more consistent higher DPS, and having the Vanish to go more frequently, so Rogue Mage, Hunter Mage, something like that, even Boomkin Mage, I think Thieves' Bargain is still the way to go. So that covers talents and honor talents. Now let's go over your goals as a sub-rogue, and this is just like a basic review of sub-rogue, and I already have like what to watch out for sub-rogue, and it's going to touch over some of the same stuff, but sub-rogues, guys, are control and they're burst, okay? So you are controlling the game as far as who can move their character and who can't move their character, and you're bursting, so you're controlling the kills. And on top of that, sub-rogues have some consistent pressure, like we talked about, with that Gloomblade ability. They have that consistent pressure with Gloomblade, with Nightblade, to do, just some sustain. So that's why I really like sub-rogue right now. I've told you guys over the past few years, the reason I play mage is because they have high control and they have high burst. But right now, mages, their burst is pretty high, but it comes very infrequently, whereas rogues have burst, every time Shadow Dance is up, and Shadow Dance is 2 charges, 1 minute cooldown, and you can get it more frequently. They have symbols every 30 seconds, they have that Gormaz every minute, they have the Cold Blood every minute, they have so much opportunity to actually burst that it's really, really fun, and you have a lot of the control from the stuns, okay? So your basic goal, guys, is pretend this is a healer, you have him on your focus, you're targeting the PvP training dummy, that's the guy you want to kill. Your basic goal might be to kidney the healer, step, and dance onto the DPS. And this is like, I'll go over the exact rotation I'm doing right now, but this is what you're going to be doing very, very frequently, right? You're going to be kidneying the healer. You're going to be stepping to the DPS and doing a lot of damage. Now, if you're playing with a mage, he's going to follow your kidney shot with some type of sheep. You're playing RMP with a fear. You're playing with a boomkin with a cyclone. You're playing with a hunter with a trap. That kidney shot is going to be followed with some type of CC. If you can't follow it, then you can, your partners can't follow it, then you can blind. Basic goal of rogue, guys. Kidney the healer, get to the DPS, and do damage onto them, okay? This is your basic goal as a rogue. Kidney healer, dance on DPS. Every time the kidney shot is back up, or every time the DR is off from kidney shot, go back to the healer, kidney shot, and go back to the DPS. There's some strategies that stray from this, right? This is a very basic overall goal of rogue. This is what I pretty much did most of my games to get gladiator, but there's a couple situations where if you want to kill the healer, then you're going to do it the other way around, right? You're going to cheap shot the DPS, and then run over to the healer and kidney shot them. And get that full kidney on the healer. This might be a shaman with no trinket, no earth shield. This might be a druid with no trinket, out of form, and no skin. This might be healer swap opportunities that you see. You can swap to them with the kidney shot with the DPS peeled. One more thing. Kidney shot could also be used onto the DPS if, say, you already have CC on the healer. If your mage lands a full sheep on the healer... by the way, this training dummy is the healer if you haven't noticed. If your mage lands a full sheep onto the healer without your kidney shot. If your boomkin gets a root beam without your kidney shot. If there's, if you already blind the healer without, any type of CC, you can just full blind healer, kidney the guy that you're on, and then off of the blind, then you can throw out a sap, or you could throw out a sheep, throw out some type of follow CC onto that, right? But most of the time, I like to kidney the healer. So those are the applications where you kidney the healer versus kidneying the DPS. And then also, if you want to just kidney and then smoke bomb, like I was talking about a little bit early, you can just kidney bomb with no CC onto the healer, right? And that would be kind of, the bomb would be kind of your CC. And the kidney bomb is a little bit better than a cheap shot bomb because kidney's a longer stun, right? So you're going to have more damage into that kidney shot than if you were to just done a triple cheap shot rotation. So those are your basic goals as rogue, guys. You're controlling the game and you're bursting targets down with your Shadow Dance, and you're really, setting up those CC chains for your partners to follow. In the meantime, when you're not doing any of that, you're spamming Gloomblade, okay? You're spamming Gloomblade, you have Nightblade up on the target, and you're spamming more Gloomblades, kind of getting ready for this next burst, using your combo points every time you get to 5 with either Eviscerate or Gloomblade to get that Shadow Dance cooldown back down to 0, so then you can use your dance again. Once your partner's like, okay, I'm ready to go, you're going to do something like sprint over the healer, full kidney shot on him, and dance onto the guy that you want to kill, right? So that's Rogue in a nutshell in Arena, right? That's exactly what I did pretty much every game to get to Gladiator. Yeah, there it is. So, now, the part of the guide that you have been waiting for, most of you guys, is the rotation, the openers. I want to put it out there. It's going to change almost every game. So all of the openers that I'm telling you right now, you can use them, but keep in mind they're going to be different every game for a couple reasons. One, you have to look at if someone's running Relentless or if someone's running Trinket. You have to see if someone's an orc or if they're not an orc. And then also you have to look for if you're going to be going with a kidney shot or if you're going with a cheap shot, okay? So if you're going, and I haven't pre-planned this out, I'm just going to do this on the fly based on what, kind of what I do in my openers. But if you're going on to a non-orc Relentless target, so say he's a human Trinket or a Blood Elf Trinket target, and you always have to keep this in mind. When you cheap shot, you can get 3 globals off before your next cheap shot. So it's usually going to be cheap shot, Nightblade, Dance, Cold Blood, Symbols, those are all off global, Shadow Strike, cheap shot, okay? That is my basic go-to. And I'm going to do it real quick right here. So cheap shot, Nightblade, Dance, Cold Blood, Shadow Strike, cheap shot, Abyss, one more cheap shot, and then you can follow with a Nightblade and 2 an Abyss, okay? That is my opener. If you want to replay that 100 times over, you can. That's what I do almost every single time. If they have no trinket, and they aren't Orc Relentless. Okay, so couple things to note. One, if they have Trinket, they're probably going to use it. If they're human Trinket, they have 2 Trinkets to go through, so they're probably going to use it. So your opener might more look like something like Cheap Shot, and then Cheap Shot their Trinket right away, and then continue with the chain, all right? Because if they Trinket, you want to get them in a restun before you do anything else. Now, if they are Relentless, then you're only going to have 2 globals between your next Cheap Shot. So you're going to Cheap Shot, Nightblade, Shadow Strike into a re-Cheap Shot. Same thing if they're Orc, and then same thing if they're Orc Relentless. So if they are Orc Relentless, you're going to do something like this, right? So you only use 2 globals. On the training dummy, obviously it's not an Orc or Relentless target, so I could still have used the third, but you get my point. Cheap Shot, Nightblade, Dance, Cold Blood Symbols, Shadow Strike, and then you have to Cheap Shot again. You can't get 2 Shadow Strikes, or there's going to be a gap in your stuns. Okay, so then you're going to re-Cheap Shot, and then you can use in your Eviscerate, re-Cheap Shot, and then Gormaz. Okay, so that's kind of the opener with triple stun versus a Blood Elf Trinket or a human Trinket versus a Relentless target versus an Orc Relentless target. The main difference is you can only get 2 globals off in that first Cheap Shot before you re-Cheap Shot. Now, I know what you're thinking. What about your Kidney Goes? So, say you just have a blind on the healer and you're doing a Kidney Go. With a Kidney Go, sorry, there's so much to think about. With a Kidney Go, you're going to Kidney and then Dance, pop everything like like I was just saying, Shadow Strike, get the Nightblade up, Shadow Strike, Cheap Shot, Abyss, Cheap Shot, Nightblade. So it's a similar thing, except you get a couple more globals off because that first Kidney's a little longer. You're going to do more damage into it. I guess the downside is that you don't have the Kidney on the healer, so it's a little bit less CC on the healer. Now, a couple things. One, it depends on if you have Nightblade up on the target beforehand. So if you say you already have Nightblade on the target because you were hitting the target and you have Nightblade, which happens a lot, by the way. If you already have Nightblade on the target, okay, and you're kind of just Shadow Striking and you're like, okay, we're ready to go, you full blind the healer's still blinded, and then you Kidney, then guess what? You don't have to reapply that Nightblade. Then you can just Dance, Symbols, pop your stuns, then Eviscerate, and then re-stun. One more stun if you pop that second Dance into the Eviscerate and into the Gormaz. So, if you already have the Nightblade up beforehand, then you can just Kidney Shot and start doing your damage. Shadow Strike, with the Eviscerates, with the Restuns, with the Gormaz, etc. Right? Now, if you have Shadow Blades up, this is why it's almost impossible to give you guys an exact opener, because now if you have Shadow Blades up, you're going to be getting to 5 combo points much quicker, and I guess my only advice for that is Shadow Strike until you have 5 common points, then Eviscerate, and make sure you always get that Cheap Shot before your Kidney Shot runs out. Okay, so the exact same thing with your Cheap Shot goes, guys. You're going to be Cheap Shotting, getting that Nightblade up. Now, this, like I talked about earlier with your Cheap Shot, Nightblade, Shadow Strike, Cheap Shot, if you already have the Nightblade up, then that just means, guys, that you get 1 more Shadow Strike in the rotation, right? If you already have the Nightblade up, then you can Cheap Shot, Shadow Strike, Eviscerate, Cheap Shot again, right? So, when people ask me rogue rotation, it's about a 10-minute long thing of me going through every possibility that could happen, and I'm still not even touching on 1/10 of the possibilities that could happen, right? So, I hope this kind of helps you decide, okay, on an Orc Relentless target, I can Cheap Shot, do 2 globals before my next Cheap Shot. On a Relentless target, same thing. On just an Orc Trinket target, same thing. But on a Blood Elf or on a human that's playing Trinket, you can get 3 globals into the Cheap Shot. That's the main thing I want you guys to take away. Now, as far as pairing all of your damaging abilities, you have Shadow Dance, you have Cold Blood, and you have Symbols, you have Shadow Blades, you have Gormaz. Side note, this is why Rogue is so fun, because you have so many little, concoctions of damage. You get to choose how much of this you want to use. You get to choose, am I going to Dance, Cold Blood, Symbols, Blades, Gormaz in this opener? And just try to kill him? Or am I going to only Dance? Or am I just going to completely fake open and not use anything, see what they use, do just something like this, and just see what they use, right? Literally fake open. And if they use like a wall or a trinket, then like thumbs up, next go you have everything, then you can kill them. Or are you going to, pop just Dance and Symbols, hold on to your Cold Blood, hold on to your Gormaz, and do something just like a normal go with just Dance Symbols, basic damage here, right? Something like this. And you're not using everything, but you're still doing a good amount of DPS, right? So that is up to you. That is your discretion. That is how you decide to play rogue. Are you going to do a couple fake goes? Are you going to do a couple real goes? Are you going to, use everything here? Or are you going to bait some shrink? What I like to do personally, and if you want to play like Roastmaster X, the Xaryu playstyles, I like to bait trinkets. I like to bait a lot of cooldowns without using all of my cooldowns. Then, once they trinket, once they pop defensives, once they waste bops or walls or trinkets, set them up for a kidney bomb. Set them up for a blind on the healer, big damage on the DPS when they have less cooldowns, but you still have Cold Blood and Gormaz and Shadow Blades, and then your symbols will come up. So in the opener, a lot of times I will just dance in symbols, okay? Dance in symbols in the opener, and then next go, use my Cold Blood and Gormaz. Now this always changes based on what races they are, based on the positioning. If someone runs in as a human relentless target, and I can just kill them in a kidney bomb in the opener with popping everything, and there's no way for them to get out, then do that, right? So it depends on the situation, and I guess the reason I was a little bit hesitant to do a rogue guide, well, two reasons. One, I just started rogue a few weeks ago, so, it's kind of hard for me to talk really, really in depth about it, but two, guys, the situation makes everything different every game and every single global. Okay, so it's impossible for me to say just do this or do that because every global is different depending on the situation. Even with Mage, it's a little more scripted, but Rogue is one of those classes where it's so unscripted that it's really hard to tell. But just to recap, guys, you're going to be spamming your Gloomblade ability. You're going to be spamming your Gloomblade ability, keeping up the Nightblade on the target that you want to kill. Okay? When you want to get CC, you might do something like Mark for Death. You're going to run over, kidney the healer, step back, and then do the rotation that I talked about earlier. Get a lot of damage off on the target, and follow that kidney shot with any type of sap, any type of blind, any type of sheep, clone, etc. And then you're going to continue damage onto the DPS, and that is your go. That is your go, and that's what you should be aiming for almost every game. That's just a quick recap of what I talked about in the last 20 minutes. And yeah, your cheap shot, your damaging rotation depends on whether they're orc, trinket, whether they use their trinket or not, whether they're relentless, etc. Last part of the guide I'm going to talk about, guys, is the macros. And these are very, very basic, very, very simple. I realize this video is going on, so I'm going to get through them quick. But yeah, we have SAP 1, we have SAP 2, and we have SAP 3. Arena 1, 2, 3 SAP macros, and I can spam these 3 to get my SAPs as quick as I can. And I have them bound to control 1, 2, 3. Focus, cheap shot. This is so I can, switch my focus, cheap shot the off target to peel, cheap shot the off target to maybe set up CC. If I don't have a kidney for the healer, I could use a cheap shot on the healer. Focus, cheap shot, definitely a must. This is a macro that I would not recommend to anyone. I only have it because I'm a noob, and it's a bad habit, really. So it's my 3 macro. It goes on to my 3. It saps people if I'm out of combat, and it eviscerates people when I'm in combat. It was initially, the idea of it was I wanted to save a bind, and when I was in stealth, I wanted my sap to be 3, but out of stealth, I wanted my eviscerate to still be 3. But then when I'm dancing, I want to be able to sap still, so then I have a focus sap. So this basically just saves a keybind. I would not recommend it. I would recommend sap and eviscerate on 2 separate binds, but basically my workaround for it is I also have a focus sap that if I don't have a focus, it'll regular sap, and I just use focus sap almost all the time that I want to sap, and then if I'm out of combat and I'm spamming sap, then of course this will still sap, but when I'm in combat, it's going to be my eviscerate. So it's almost just an eviscerate bind that when I'm out of combat will also sap. Here's a stealth keybind. When you press stealth and you spam stealth, it's not going to take you out of stealth, which I think is very nice, so you don't accidentally come out of stealth. Gloomblade, I just made a macro to make it whether I'm Gloomblade or if I'm backstab, it'll always look like Gloomblade, and the way I did that is I just went to the icon, found Gloomblade in here, and just named it A, and slash cast backstab, slash cast Gloomblade, so that it always looks like Gloomblade, because I think Gloomblade looks pretty cool. So you don't need that either. Focus blind, very basic macro. Focus kick, very basic macro. Focus sap, if it exists, right? So if I don't have a focus, it's going to sap my normal target. If I do have a focus, it's going to sap my focus target. Very simple. Focus shadow step. This is very, very, very handy if you want to focus shadow step, like kidney a healer, and then step back to the DPS to do damage, right? It's really, really nice to have that focus shadow step ability. So a lot of these are just focus macros. That's why I said it's very basic. Focus, kidney shot. You can just have a normal bind for this, but I have it as a modifier, so I just take up less slots on my action bar. But you can have a normal kidney macro, then a focus kidney macro, but I have it just built into one here. Mod shift is my focus kidney. Party Step is a macro that I like to have for eating traps or just running away. So I can just Party Step, boom, get out of there as soon as I can. And then I have a Gormaz macro that pops symbols before I Gormaz, because I figured I don't think I ever want to Gormaz without symbols up. Gormaz is a 1 minute cooldown that does so much damage. Symbols is a 30-second cooldown that increases damage by 15%. So if for some reason I forget to pop symbols, or I'm about to Gormaz without symbols, which I always should symbols before, it'll pop symbols before for me. So those are all my rogue macros, guys. Very, very basic. Just focus and normal abilities right there. Very, very basic macros. So talents, honor talents, your goals in arena, kind of what I do in arena, your rotation a little bit, talked about that, and your macros. Guys, that is the Roastmaster Rogue Guide. Those are all the tips and tricks that I use to get Gladiator in just a few weeks of playing Rogue in 3v3 arena. Hope it can help you. I realized the guide went very long, but I guess I had a lot to talk about when it comes to Rogue. I have been loving my Rogue so much in arenas recently, guys. It reminds me of what Mage used to be as far as all the stuns and all the control and all the consistent burst. Mages can only Icy Veins once every 3 minutes, and, you know, their burst is just... You can't stack it up as well as Rogue, but that's a video for another time. This is the Rogue Guide. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to thumbs it up if you did, or if you learned something, or if it helped you. Let me know down below in the comments if you learned anything, and if it helped you. Be like, oh, I went from 2K to 2200. You know, I like hearing stuff like that. If these guides helped you, and thumbs video down if you didn't like it. Talk to me in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!